Tonight isn't the beginning, it's a reckoning. Paul Arizin is already great by the time this game's off. He's already a scoring champion and a jump shot artist. He's the local star and the man with the cleanest release in a league still figuring out what modern offense even looks like. Greatness is not the same thing as authority. On this night, March 29, 1956, Paul Bad Moon Arizin gets a chance to do something different. He gets a chance to put Syracuse away because Syracuse has been a problem. Syracuse has been a roadblock. They were the team that kept getting in the way when Arizin's Warriors tried to become something real in the early 1950s. This time, the series is tied. The game's in Philly, and the Warriors have the better record, the deeper balance, the rookie wonderkind, the veteran center, and the city behind them. This time, Paul Arizin scores 35 in a 109-104 win that sends Philadelphia to the finals. So this isn't just Game 5. This is the night a star stops being just brilliant and starts to sound like a champion. Welcome back to the Warrior 100. I'm documenting one game per player until I reach 100. This is Warrior 04, and today's lens is Paul Arizin. The game is March 29th, 1956, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5, Syracuse Nationals at Philadelphia Warriors. Philadelphia wins at 109-104 at the Convention Hall and takes the series overall 3-2. The idea today is simple. Before Paul Arizin could win a title, he had to get past the team that kept teaching him how hard winning. He had to get past the team that kept teaching him how hard winning really was. Philadelphia walks into this game as the East's number 1 seed, 45-27, first in the division, and carrying the pressure that comes with being the favorite on a home floor in a winner-take-all setting. Syracuse comes in at 35-37. That record lies a little bit. They're the defending champions, and they're coached by Al Servey. They've already survived the bracket just to get this far. This is the classic top seed versus scar tissue. Philadelphia has a cleaner resume, but Syracuse has the meaner memory. So the Warriors' room feels tight, but proud. They know they should win. They also know they let Syracuse drag this series back to even. The Nationals' room sounds dangerous. They've already forced the favorite into one game for everything. That's a lovely place for a road underdog to be. The broader NBA context matters here because the league itself is changing shape. This is the second season after the shot clock, and scoring has jumped. The game is visibly faster, more open, and more athletic than it had been just a short time earlier. League scoring rose to 99 points per game per team per season, and the sport was being pulled towards something recognizably modern. Bob Pettit won the league's first MVP award, led the league in scoring and rebounding, and on the very same night as this game, Fort Wayne beat St. Louis in the West to clinch the other finals berth. So this isn't an isolated Eastern playoff game. It's part of the NBA becoming new in real time. For Arizin specifically, Syracuse is not random opposition. The Nationals had already knocked out Philadelphia in 1951 and again in 1952. In other words, the defining Eastern obstacle of Arizin's early career had a name, a face, and a color scheme, and that obstacle was Syracuse. By 1956, Philadelphia is better, deeper, and more mature, but none of that means much until they finally solve the same problem on the floor. That's what gives this game real voltage. It's not just advance to the finals. This is, can Paul Arizin finally move the Syracuse chapter out of the way? As for crossover players, this isn't one of those betrayal series built around a recent ex-teammate switching sides. The main Game 5 rotations don't give us any angle like that. The rivalry, though, is stronger than that. It's continuity. Two veteran Eastern Conference programs that know each other, trust themselves, and don't scare easily. Philadelphia's coach is George Sineski, a former Warriors guard and a first-year head coach who took this team to 45 wins and ultimately the title in his first season on the bench. Syracuse is coached by Al Servey, the hard-edged Hall of Famer known as Digger, the man who had already led the Nationals to the 1955 championship and built one of the nastiest competitive identities in the early league. And the floor is loaded. Philadelphia has future Hall of Famers Paul Arizin, Neil Johnston, and rookie Tom Gola. Syracuse brings Dolph Shays and Earl Lloyd. That means this game isn't short on historical weight. It's a playoff eliminator filled with foundational NBA people. Paul Arizin's one of the great self-made stars in basketball history. Born in Philadelphia in 1928, he didn't even make the high school team in the ordinary way that people would imagine a future Hall of Famer would. He played intramural, church, and independent ball. He found his game in all kinds of weird spaces. And famously, he developed his jump shot early, partly because some of those floors were too slippery, so leaving the ground became more practical. He went to Villanova, became the College Player of the Year in 1950, entered the NBA with the Warriors, then later lost 2 seasons to Marine Corps service during the Korean War. When he came back, he was still a star. In 1955-56, he averaged 24.2 points, made another All-Star team, and helped to anchor this 45-27 club with Neil Johnston, Jack George, Joe Grabowski, and Tom Gola around him. That matters for this episode because Arizin's not just a scorer. He's a hinge player in league history. He's one of the men who helped make the jump shot feel normal, inevitable. So now put that player into this moment. He's 27 years old, not yet at his birthday, already elite, already decorated, already carrying the full burden of home crowd expectation. And he's facing Dolph Shays and the defending champions. The series is tied 2-2. The building knows what this means. Arizin answers with 35 points on 13 for 25 shooting, 9 for 11 at the line, plus 10 rebounds. That's not empty scoring. That's takeover scoring under playoff pressure. Philadelphia wins the first quarter 32-28. That matters because it lets the Warriors establish the emotional shape of the game. They aren't chasing. They're not recovering. They're setting the first terms. And at halftime, they lead 56-48. And that tells you a lot. This is not a runway, but Philadelphia has done the early hard work. Defend well enough, rebound hard enough, and let the stars make the scoreboard look honest. The third quarter is where the anxiety returns. Syracuse trims it. By the end of 3, it's 78-73, Warriors. So now it's one of those old playoff games where the favorite can see the finish line. And suddenly, the finish line starts to move. Then the fourth quarter becomes the game that you remember. Both teams score 31 in the final quarter, which means this is not Philadelphia calmly strangling the thing. This is Syracuse taking their best shot. Shays had 28. George King gives him 17 points, 13 rebounds, and 11 assists. Jim Tucker and Dick Farley both hit 16, and Earl Lloyd chipped in 11. The Nationals keep coming, which is exactly what veteran playoff teams do. But Philadelphia just has more answers. Neil Johnston gives them 25 points and 18 rebounds with 8 assists. Joe Grabowski adds 19 and 14, and Tom Gola, he shoots poorly, just 1 for 9. But he still does winning stuff. He grabs 13 rebounds, makes 5 assists, and goes 6 for 6 at the line. Jack George supplies 15 points and 7 assists. And over all of it is Arizin, who's the cleanest source of offense in the building. He gets 35, and he gets them efficiently. He gets them in the kind of game where 35 feels like air supply. Philadelphia also won the glass by about a mile, 73 rebounds to 53. Now that's huge. It means even when Syracuse fights back, the Warriors keep creating extra life. And that is how you close. That's how you survive a closeout game that never fully relaxes. So the final read is this. Philadelphia built the lead. Syracuse made the game real. And Arizin made sure real didn't become fatal. For Arizin, the game is proof of concept. It's not proof that he could score. Everybody already knew that. And it's not proof that he can headline a team, because he'd already done that too. The proof here is subtler and more important. It's that his style, his star power, and his version of offense can still hold up when the series gets ugly and the opponent knows him cold. Because Syracuse was not impressed by Paul Arizin's resume. Syracuse had history with him. They'd already sent him home before. So this is the kind of thing that changes biography. It turns a great scorer into the best player on a team that finally broke through. For Philadelphia, this win means the East belongs to them now. They're no longer just the team with the names. They're the team with the answer. The answer. AI. They finally get through Syracuse and move on to the finals. where they beat the Fort Wayne Pistons 4-1 for the championship. Arizin finished the 1956 playoffs with 289 points in 10 games, the top total in the postseason. For Syracuse, this is the end of a champion's hold on the conference, but it's not a collapse. This is a real fight to the wall. The Nationals dragged a 35-37 season all the way to a decisive Game 5 against the East's top club and made them sweat every inch. That matters. It tells you they were still dangerous, still proud, and still fully themselves. A game like this can create a new fan from scratch because it has everything the sport promises without any decoration. You have a local star whose game looks elegant. You have a rival that refuses to disappear. You got old school names and future immortals sharing the same floor. You have a lead that never felt safe and a building that understands the stakes without needing to be told. Finally, you got a final score that says 5 points, but a feeling that says the entire Eastern Division was hanging on every decent jumper that Paul Arizin put in the air. That's basketball, not the commercial, and not the montage. This is the actual thing. The AP-style newspaper recap that I found reduces this night to its essence. Philadelphia rode Arizin's 35, used its home floor, and held on late. That's a plain description, but it's exactly right. Sometimes the old wire copy is best because it doesn't overtalk the obvious. The obvious here is that the Warriors had the best offensive player in the game. He played like it, and that was enough to get them through. If you want the silent pressure version, it's right there in the numbers. Arizin 35, Johnston 25 and 18, Shays 28 in defeat. Warriors to the finals. After this, Philadelphia did what champions do. They finished the job. The Warriors beat the Fort Wayne Pistons in 5 games in the NBA Finals and claimed the 1956 title. Arizin was central to the whole run. Syracuse came back the next year and remained relevant, finishing 38 and 34, second in the East. Survey started 44-8, then Paul Seymour took over and went 34 and 26. They beat Philadelphia in the first round and then lost to Boston in the division finals. So this isn't the end of the rivalry. It just shifted who had the upper hand for one critical spring. Arizin followed this championship run by winning another scoring title in 1957. He stayed a Warrior his entire NBA career, piled up 10 All-Star appearances, and retired in 1962 instead of moving west with the franchise to become a San Francisco Warrior. After that, he still played in the Eastern Basketball League, and later his legacy only grew. Hall of Fame enshrinement, NBA anniversary teams, and permanent placement among the league's early architects. He died in 2006, which is why this game lands so well in a 100-player project. It's not just a big scoring night. It's a hinge point in the life of one of basketball's original modern scorers. Next time, we jump sports and jump decades. From Philadelphia to hardwood pressure in 1956 to Houston baseball grit in 1981. Astro 29. Art Howe, where is he? Art Howe. August 26, 1981, different city, different uniform, different sport entirely. Same question, though. When the game gets tight, who's steady enough to make the night belong to him? This was Warrior 04, Paul Arizin, March 29, 1956. The Warriors beat the Nationals 109-104. Paul Arizin scored 35. Philadelphia took the series. And one of the league's first great jump shooters gets the kind of playoff win that changes the sound of the whole story. I'm documenting one game per player until they reach 100. Thanks for watching.